Let's make a fun toaster cover. So for this fun pattern, I decided to use quilted fabric. I did quilt my own fabric, so I have one long piece and then two shorter rectangle pieces. And for this, you could quilt your own fabric where you would use two different pieces of cotton fabric and some batting, and then add a fun pattern to it, like you can see that I did here. Or you can definitely buy your own quilted fabric. That's very easy to do, and I will link some spots at the top. They'll show you how you could make your own quilted fabric if you wanted to do that. Our first step though for this pattern is that we need to kind of round off some of these raw edges, and the best way to do that with quilted fabric is to add bias tape. So I'm going to be adding bias tape to the two shorter edges of that long piece, and then a long edge on either of those smaller rectangles, and we'll get started. So here's a quick example of what that bias tape will look like. You're just going to take that straight seam across. And to get it on here, you can see that I did the longer rectangle already, but so like for these short pieces, I'm taking my bias tape and I'm wrapping it around that raw edge of material. And then I'm going to pin this in place, and then I'll continue this all the way down that one edge. And then I'll do it for this piece as well as the second side piece. And then I will be able to take a straight seam all the way across to secure the bias tape in place. So now that I have the bias tape on the edges of my material, what I'm able to do is actually start to construct my toaster cover. And the way I want to do this is I want to add some color on the outside as well. So I'm actually going to be pinning this all together so that I'm taking a seam and the raw edges will be showing. So with the inside pieces or the lining together, I'm going to be pinning this all the way around. And I'll do this for both pieces on both sides. And then once I do that, what I'm going to be able to do is take a seam on both sides of my toaster cover. If you wanted to skip that extra step of adding bias tape at the end, you could also do this with the right sides together. And then you wouldn't have to worry about adding that bias tape. So now with it all pinned up, I can go ahead and just take a seam on both sides all the way around to get my full toaster cover shape. So with those seams complete, I'm on to the last step, which is removing these raw edges. And the way I'm going to do that is bring that bias tape back into it, and I'm going to be using the bias tape to cover up both of those edges on either side. So I will say that this did take some time to do, as you really did have to work the bias tape around the edges, and the curves got a little difficult. So if you wanted to skip this, you could by just, instead of sewing with like the linings together, you could do the right sides together. Then all you would have to do would be to flip your toaster cover right side out, and it could be complete. But if you do want to add this step, it is a fun touch, and it does add some more color or a little bit more design to the simplistic toaster cover. Once you get that all pinned up, you're just going to take a seam all the way around, basically going over the exact same spot that you did before, but making it so that the bias tape stays on. And with that, the sewing of our toaster cover is complete. I can go now through and trim off those extra threads. The best part about this is it is machine washable, so if anything gets on it, you can just throw it in the washing machine, put it in the dryer, and it will come out brand new. I love how this turned out, and I hope you did as well. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.